Thanks, Mayank. Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are doing great. I, Ashish Jindal, feel privileged to be here and talk about one of the challenges faced by our testing community. Well, a lot of our clients say our application has passed all the functional tests, all the performance tests as well, but our devices are still slow. And the usual answer they receive is, well, if a device is slow, it means the device is slow, right? Nothing can be done. And of course, you cannot compare the performance of an iPhone to a Zen phone. One of our client, who is one of the biggest retail chain in the United States with more than 5,000 stores, reached out to us with the same question. That was when a team went into research mode and decided to come up with a solution. Well, of course, they all have a wonderful team doing a great job in functional and performance testing. But what is it they're missing? Well, they're missing device performance testing, which is also the topic of this presentation. Let's move ahead and talk about the agenda. Performance testing, how we have been doing it, why device performance testing, our solution, advantages, takeaways, and of course, your queries. Performance testing. The standard performance testing focuses only on the server performance. Server health, but not the client performance. Well, I'm sure these tools, they're doing a great job, but only when if it's done the right way. And if not, we again hear from the team, well, a performance test case is passed, the server is not behaving as expected. Server is running into issues. Well, that's not the topic of discussion for today. A topic of discussion for today is why device performance testing. Standard performance testing may be okay for the browser-based applications, but in order to evaluate the overall performance of the system, device performance testing is as critical as the server performance testing. Let's talk about an example here. One of our product, which uses a camera to capture an image, sends the image to the server processes the image, returns the result back to the mobile device. Everything is working fine. But when we capture like 100 plus images, our application crashes. We tested the APIs, they were working fine. We tested the server with a proper load, it was working great, but we failed to test device performance. After analyzing, we noticed when we were capturing like 100 plus images, every time a new camera was launched, a new object, a new instance was getting created in the memory. And over the time, it was leading to crash. What I mean here is the way logic is implemented, the way APIs are consumed, the way code is written, code quality could be dramatically wrong and could lead to your memory leaks, could lead to higher CPU utilization, higher battery consumptions, overall a poor device performance. Well, this proves the fact that device performance testing is as critical as server performance testing. Well, when a lot of users shifting from desktop, laptops to mobile, this has become even more important. That's why we have been hearing a lot more complaints. That's why a lot of clients are coming to us for device performance testing. How did we handle it? How did the team come up with this solution? Well, the team come up with the device performance testing framework. This framework can be controlled by the automation suite, can be controlled manually, and of course, remotely. This framework consists of two components. One is the iOS and the Android applications, which reside here, client side. And you have the test cases, test suite ready. You have your automation suite, you have our application. From your automation suite, you launch our application. You send start monitoring command. Now, depending on the requirement, what you want to see, what you want to log, you can send the parameters. You can send the parameters like memory, CPU, battery, network, whatever you want to monitor. The automation suite can also specify the time interval by which you want to monitor, the time interval in which you want to monitor the device health. Automation suite can also send the server URL. Why this server URL is critical here? Now let's say your user base is critical enough. Your data is private enough. You don't want to store on the central repository. You don't want to put on a centralized server. Well, you can configure the server locally and you can pass your local URL here. The results are at the client end only. Well, this performance framework can be controlled remotely as well. Let's say from here or from your office, you want to monitor how a device at billing counter number 1 is behaving, right? No worries. You don't have to go and visit the store. From here, log into a server, you select the device, and you say, hey, start monitoring. We'll send a push notification, device receives a push notification, starts monitoring in the background, and once you are done, you see the results here. This framework install a performance framework on your phone, our application as well. You start our application, you manually go and tap start monitoring. You perform your test cases. Once you are done, you can see all the results on a server. Well, let's move ahead and have a look at the demo of the same. For demo, I'll be talking about the same example I was talking about. Dashboard, we selected the device we want to test and we sent start application. That's basically start monitoring. Just a moment. We select the device and we say start application, start monitoring. A server sends the notification to the client device. The device receives the notification, runs in the background. Now the performance app is launched. You launch the application you want to test. We launch our application and we perform the test cases we want to do. In this case, we launch the camera, we take the image and we process the image at the client side, and then we send the image to server for processing. Server processes the image and sends the result back to our device. In this case, we uploaded a wrong image, we received an error. Now, once you are done, you say stop monitoring, stop app. Again, a notification is sent, it's done. You have the results here as per the timestamp, the processes that were running in the background, memory, CPU, all that data. We have a pictorial representation. How much CPU was used during the process? Here we can see the spike, 33%, went to 16, so on. We can see how much battery was consumed, how much memory. Here we can see the memory was increasing gradually. So we can notify, we can see, yes, my device, my performance is related to the application, and hence we can correct the issues. We can even have a look at the data bytes consumed during the entire process. Well, this was the example of remote notifications. How are we controlling our application using push notifications? Talking about the automation suite is as simple as few lines of code. What we have done, here we have taken an example of the Android automation example. We create an Android driver, simply the TriCast thing. Simple, we invoke our application and say start monitoring. Now, from the automation suite, you run the application you want to test. Once you are done, again you say stop, and at the end, you see the results on the server. On the basis of the result, you can do the necessary steps you want to take for your application. Talk about the advantages, takeaways of this framework. Well, we plan to create an open source framework for the testing community so that anyone can do the performance testing from anywhere. You don't have to be at the same place at the same time. Oh, a very obvious question some of you might be getting. Well, this is a very generic question. Aren't there any open source framework available? aren't there any applications available on Google Play and iTunes? Yes, there are. There are some open source framework. There are few applications on Google Play and iTunes stores, but they are only for the end users. They were not designed keeping testing community in mind. Well, this product or framework helps product teams to leverage. You don't have to go to the production. You can see how your device is performing in the initial phase, in the initial development and testing phases. We have also created iOS and Android SDKs, which can be easily integrated with any application. And once integrated, you see all the logs on the server. Crash logs reporting. Of course, it will help all the developers to see all the crash logs and help them fix. Notifications and alarms for monitoring. Well, as a developer, a lot of times I have a glitch with the test team. Testers say, well, your application is consuming like 80% of CPU, higher memory. I'll say, no, it's using just 10%. It's less than an MB. Well, here goes the proof. We baseline the thresholds. If the system crosses the threshold, you get the notifications and alarms. There is no confusion. You can go and fix the solution. Last but not the least, response time and rendering time. Well, we plan to measure the time taken by server to give response to the mobile application, the time taken by the mobile application to parse the response and show it on the screen. Every time we blame the server, response time is high. Probably the server is taking too long. That's why our mobile device is taking so much of time in rendering the data. No, maybe the logic is wrong. Mobile device is taking a lot of time in parsing the data and show it on the screen. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much.